Damon, in the first MMA fight in New York in nearly two decades, history was made. McGregor turned in our adrenaline performance. It's presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Damon, what was most impressive about McGregor's win over Eddie Alvarez?
How completely dominant it was. I mean, Eddie Alvarez is such an incredibly tough and durable fighter. The fact that Conor went out there, knocked him down 3 times in the first round, came out, did the same thing in the second round and got the finish was crazy, because Eddie Alvarez has never been dominated like that in his career. And this is, we're talking about a 10-year veteran, more than 30 fights in his record, and he's fought the best of the best over those 10 years. No one has ever beaten Eddie Alvarez like that until Conor McGregor on Saturday night.
Okay, more news in the post-fight press conference. McGregor made some demands of the UFC. Listen to this.
Where's my share? Where's my equity? If I'm the one that's bringing this, I mean, they've got to come talk to me now. That's all I know. I've got both belts, a chunk of money, a little family on the way. You want me to stick around? You want me to keep doing what I'm doing? Let's talk. But I want the ownership now. I want the equal share. I want what I deserve, what I've earned.
Damon, we know McGregor has a lot of leverage. Would the UFC actually give him an ownership stake?
You know, it's hard to deny him, especially if he's going to stay steadfast in this request to not fight again unless he gets that. I mean, if there's ever been a fighter that deserves an equity stake in a promotion like the UFC, it's Conor McGregor. I mean, no one's brought in more money than him. No one's brought in more pay-per-view revenue than him. And, you know, the UFC may have shot themselves in the foot a little bit when they offered, you know, to sell part of the company to celebrities like, you know, Conan O'Brien and some of the other celebrities that work with WME, IMG. So by doing that and making it public, Conor kind of realized that it's possible. So I think at this point they're kind of stuck in the situation of offering him something that would make him want to stay, because otherwise I'm quite sure Conor McGregor could walk away tomorrow and he has plenty of money to do it with.
What potential problems could arise if McGregor gets an ownership stake?
Well, it opens up the floodgate for other fighters wanting the same thing. Now, there's not a lot of fighters on the UFC roster that have even close to the star power of Conor McGregor, but you could look at a Ronda Rousey who could absolutely make that same demand. She's a star. If she comes back on December 30th and picks up a big win over Amanda Nunes, she could make the same exact request. Whether or not she would, you know, is unknown, but it does open up that floodgate that other fighters would want this same thing. You know, that sell going through for $4.2 billion opened up a lot of eyeballs, and we've seen a lot of fighters, you know, kind of making steadfast demands to say, I'm not going to perform unless I get a better contract. Chris Weidman did that. He didn't get his contract signed for UFC 205 until the day of the press conference when it was announced. So a lot of fighters are starting to see their value, and Conor McGregor getting an ownership stake would only open up those floodgates even more.
Wouldn't a union perhaps take care of some of those issues?
Perhaps, you know, obviously, you know, a union, it would be a big deal for MMA, especially when you look at how it affects other sports like obviously Major League Baseball and basketball and football. But the UFC and mixed martial arts is such a unique sport in the way it's handled. And, you know, there's no real union in boxing. There's no union in professional wrestling, as crazy as that sounds. Professional wrestling and boxing, I think, are much closer to the atmosphere that's carried at a place like the UFC. But we'll see how it all plays out. I know the unions are making a hard push to get in MMA. It's going to take, you know, a guy like Conor McGregor signing on with the union to get it on board, because without a superstar like that, they can actually make demands of the UFC and stick to them. It's going to be hard for a union to catch foothold in the UFC, but it's possible.